Story 1. My brother and me had a handful of episodes that played endlessly on Nickelodeon in the 1990s. Also, Space Cases. Additionally, there was that unusual whale rider science fiction show on the Disney Channel where everyone lived in an underwater station. Story 2. Viper is a show about a getaway driver who becomes a police officer because he is the only one who can properly handle a powerful Dodge Viper equipped with armor and weapons. I am not sure if it was truly awesome, but I certainly felt it was when I was a kid. Story 3. The Greatest American Hero. Iconic of the late 1970s and 1980s, it had great potential to be the best but ultimately fell short. Story 4. The Torkelsons. I also never see references to Sybil. I doubt myself when thinking about it now, but I remember it having a good cast and good writing. Story 5. Friday the 13th. The series is a great concept for a show. They should redo it but call it something else because the name is not accurate at all. Story 6. Back when shows like Hercules and Xena were popular, there was a show about a group of Celtic warriors in Ireland in the early centuries after the birth of Christ, led by a prince who survived the slaughter of his tribe by invading Romans. I remember that one of the main antagonists colluding with the invaders and with the traitor Celtic tribes who sided with them was an immortal wizard who was said to have pierced Jesus' side with a spear during his crucifixion and was cursed to live forever as punishment. The lead role of the prince was played by a very young Heath Ledger, and his love interest and childhood friend was an archer played by Vera Farmiga. The only other characters I remember were a large man with a shaved head and a handlebar mustache who was the prince's bodyguard and teacher, and a woman who I believe was a Roman politician involved in the invasion. I don't think I ever saw more than 6 different episodes, and I've never seen or heard about it again. Most people I've asked about it think I'm making it up, but I know it existed because I've searched for it over the years, and there's evidence that it was an actual show. Story 7. It's Your Move, starring Jason Bateman, aired right after Silver Spoons ended. It focused on his adversarial relationship with his mother's boyfriend, David Garrison, and the pranks they would pull on each other without their mother finding out. Story 8. X Factor. Not the singing show, but the one with Jonathan Frakes where they showcase strange and scary stories, and at the end, he would reveal which one really happened and which one was fake. Story 9. Whatever Happened to Robot Jones. Time Squad. Ronin Warriors. Mummies Alive. Sheep in the Big City. Mike Liu and OG. Evil Con. Story 10. Threshold is a science fiction television series about an alien invasion that lasted 1 season and was just beginning to improve. Peter Dinklage played a significant role. Story 11. Kolchak the Night Stalker was ahead of its time. It makes me wish for a reboot or something similar in tone. Story 12. Tales of the Gold Monkey. Goober and the Ghost Chasers. Eek, the Cat. The Time Tunnel. The Whitest Kids You Know. Space. Above and Beyond. Waiting for Godot. You can't do that on television. The Hilarious House of Frightenstein. Story 13. A whole slew of UK late 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s children's television. Pocket Dragons, Shoe People, Percy the Park Keeper, Urban Bowl of Stars, and Galador. There are probably more if I think about it. Story 14. 7 Days. I loved watching it after school with my mom. I was so frustrated with the cliffhanger ending. Story 15. I hope someone can name it for me. It's a science fiction story set in the future or on a different planet. I remember it having a younger cast, mostly female. The cinematography has a bright tone with well-lit sets. The key feature I remember is that everyone uses a tablet that looks like a transparent piece of paper that unfolds. Once unfolded, it works like a regular tablet used today. It may or may not have been part of the Battlestar universe. I thought it was Caprica, but I'm not sure. Maybe there were 2 Caprica shows? Any help is appreciated. Story 16. This may just be a regional thing, but there was a quirky show called Giggle Snort Hotel. There was a mound of clay on a moving pedestal that one person would always mold into different faces depending on the story, along with a very strange cast of characters. It was bizarre and I absolutely loved it. I remember watching it in the late 1970s to early 1980s. I've asked others throughout the years, but no one knows what I'm talking about. Story 17. Finders Keepers was a children's game show in the late 1980s where kids had to find hidden items in a house built in a studio. Does anyone else remember? Story 18. I had to watch it every Saturday night when I was growing up. Such a silly show, but I loved it. Story 19. The Man from UNCLE. It was an old spy television show. It featured a character who, unknown to me until recently, made several record albums back in the day, including one that contains a song called The Edge. If you listen to the first few seconds of this song, you might find yourself thinking, I've been misled my entire life. Story 20. How much time do you have? Manimal, Supertrain, Voyagers, Making It in the Beginning, Mr. T and Tia, Hello Larry. I could continue listing shows indefinitely. Story 21. Double Trouble. A half-hour comedy show on NBC about two twin girls and their adventures in the early 1980s. Story 22. Time Tracks. A scientist from the 22nd century develops a time machine and starts sending fugitives to the late 20th century to escape justice in exchange for payment. When the police find out, he manages to escape into the past himself. One officer volunteers to pursue the fugitives and return them. He is a typical specimen of his time. In top physical shape, possessing an IQ above 200, able to hold his breath for 10 minutes, with a heartbeat of 30 beats per minute, and capable of time stalling, which allows him to temporarily enhance his brain's reaction speed to superhuman levels. He also brings his personal artificial intelligence, Selma, disguised as a credit card. Selma can project a holographic avatar based on a portrait of the officer's mother that he painted as a child and interface with any electronic device, allowing him to access money without worry as she can hack any ATM or point-of-sale machine. He carries a pellet projector that can fire one of 3 types of pellets: blue for a 10-minute stun, green for a 2-hour stun, and red to administer a special drug required for safe time travel. The Tracker. A similar premise but involving aliens instead of time travel. The alien fugitives take over the bodies of train passengers, benefiting from their memories and experiences. The officer pursuing them is an energy being who assumes a human form resembling a male underwear model from an advertisement, reminiscent of Duncan MacLeod of Clan MacLeod. There are several different alien species with unique abilities. For example, the main character can temporarily enter hyperspeed, moving like the Flash but requiring hours of rest afterward. He can also use his energy to influence electronic devices. Meanwhile, the scientist behind the breakout possesses telekinesis. Story 23. Saiful and Ali is a great late-night sock puppet show that aired on MTV. It would have fit well with the wild late-night cartoon programming on Cartoon Network. I haven't met anyone who has heard of it in the past 10 years. If you're interested, take a look. Story 24. The weekly episodic show was poor, as was the reboot, but the original V and the final battle were outstanding. Story 25. Greatest American Hero is the inspiration for the best outgoing answering machine message in the history of television. Story 26. I don't hear many people talking about Eureka these days, but I really loved that show when it aired. Story 27. HR. Puffin Stuff. I had so much preschool anxiety from Witchy Poo terrorizing Freddy the Flute. I disliked that show, but I couldn't stop watching for fear of not knowing how Freddy was doing. Story 28. I watched it in high school, but I remember watching Mission Hill on Adult Swim. I know it wasn't the original network it aired on, but I knew I watched it before I was 4, the average age most people begin to form memories. Story 29. Wonderfalls. It appeared to be a fun and quirky show. Unfortunately, it only had 4 episodes before being canceled. Story 30. It's About Time. Mr. Terrific. The Fugitive. My Mother the Car. The Honeymooners. You Bet Your Life. Story 31. The Adventures of T-Rex. Imagine a combination of Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles, except they are anthropomorphic T-Rexes who sing at a nightclub when they are not fighting crime. It had 1 season. The part that remains in my memory is the villain, frustrated because another character keeps buying the extra-large suits he has to wear. Story 32. LA to Vegas and Outsourced were so poorly received that they only lasted a season. These shows had only a couple of good lines or scenes, and that was it. Suburgatory was nothing more than slightly above average, but it was watchable. Leverage was fantastic when it first aired, and I still enjoy it now. The reboot was pretty good too. Trading Spaces is everything that reality television should be. They got away with some truly outrageous ideas. Who thinks it's a good idea to glue straw to a wall? Everyone was so genuine and likable, without any fake drama. Junkyard Wars is similar to Trading Spaces. The creations were incredible, and a part of me really wanted to believe I could do it. In reality, I'm terrible at math and can't weld. Story 33. A Saturday morning cartoon from around 1984 called Turbo Teen was about a high school student who transformed into a red sports car. It likely had 10 episodes. Story 34. Before he had the late-night show, David Letterman hosted a daytime program for a while. Does anyone remember that? Story 35. Dino Saucers is a cartoon about anthropomorphic dinosaurs that fought each other and could actually transform into their real dinosaur counterparts. The villains also resided in a volcano. It represents peak children's television, if you ask me. Story 36. Oh, some great old kids shows that still bring back good memories. The Great Grape Ape, The Secrets of Isis, Hong Kong Phooey, Super Friends, Shazam, HR, Puffin Stuff, Hercules, 1970s cartoon, possibly 1960s, The $6 Million Man/Wonder Woman. Story 37. Spider Games was one of the first adult shows I watched. Whenever I look up clips now, the acting seems terrible. Story 38. Full Metal Challenge. Teams had to build vehicles in a month with a budget of $3,000 and compete in various challenges, culminating in a sumo match that determined the episode's winner. The show aired for a single season on TLC in the early 2000s. I had a few episodes recorded on VHS as a child, and I must have watched them hundreds of times. Story 39. The Magician. It's a shame it only lasted one season. I loved that show and enjoyed watching Bill Bixby drive the white Corvette. Story 40. Friday the 13th. The series. Hitcher, Brothers, Bosom Buddies, Pinwheel, Monty Python's Flying Circus, David the Gnome, Visionaries, Captain N the Game Master, Power Team, Laser Tag, Spiral Zone. Story 41. The Others was a show that ran for 6 episodes. It featured a group of people with various psychic powers involved in a conspiracy. Story 42. Cheers, The A-Team, The Dukes of Hazzard. If you know any of these, I'm sure you could guess when I was born within about 1 year. Story 43. Early Edition features a character played by Kyle Chandler in Chicago who receives tomorrow's newspaper today. He spends a lot of time running around saving people, preventing disasters, and stopping crimes. The show has a sort of quantum leap feel to it, minus the leaping, since the newspaper changes as he alters the course of events. There are many instances of refixing and unintended consequences. It is a really good show, but I don't think it is available for streaming anywhere legally at the moment. Story 44. Pirates of Dark Water, Street Sharks, Ghost Rider, Sinbad, the animated series, Biker Mice from Mars, Princess Guinevere and the Jewel Riders. Story 45. I remember a cartoon from my childhood called Brave Star about a Native American space cowboy. He could tap into animal powers, but I don't think it lasted very long. Story 46. Invasion is a 2005 film starring William Fichtner, along with several other recognizable actors. It depicts a town undergoing a secret alien invasion with body snatching occurring. You don't know who is an alien and who is not, and some people don't even seem to realize they are aliens. The film takes many cues from Lost, keeping viewers in the dark about the overall plot and maintaining an air of mystery. Story 47. It's About Time was a sitcom from the mid-1960s that had the premise of time-traveling astronauts trapped in the Stone Age. It was canceled after only 1 season, without any resolution to their predicament. Larry Hagman, known for Dallas and I Dream of Jeannie, was one of the astronauts. Story 48. Viper, as in the car, was released around the same time as the first Dodge Viper models. I have never seen anyone mention it. Story 49. G versus E retitled as Good versus Evil. Someone else mentioned this. My second vote would be for VR.5. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.